In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 practical and realistic ways that you can make $500 a month or more from coding. Now, I'm not going to tell you to make a global game that you sell for tons of money or run a YouTube channel or start a blog or anything like that. These are realistic things that you can start today, even if you are a beginner programmer. If you're someone who's 12, 13, 14 years old, you can definitely do these things. And the reason why I'm saying these are realistic is because everything I'm going to mention in this video, I have actually done. And I did it mostly when I was at the age of between 14 and 18 years old. These are meant to be kind of short tasks that you take on a freelance basis and do whenever you have free time to make a little bit of money and gain a bit of experience working with clients. Now, the last thing I will say for this introduction is that you can definitely make much more than $500. And as I grew up and got into first, second, third year of university, my income from these tasks increased drastically. But I think $500 is a really realistic target, and a lot of people would be happy to make that each month, especially if you're only spending a few hours and not working on something as a full-time job. So with that said, let's get into these 3 methods. All right, so let's dive into method number 1 here, which is tutoring. Now, this is personally my favorite method, and I found that this makes the most amount of money when you average it out per hour. Now, I understand there's a lot of concerns here with tutoring. A bunch of you are probably already yelling at the computer and saying, I'm not skilled enough, I'm not good enough to tutor, I don't have any clients, and you're going to list off 1,000 excuses. That's fine, but the reality is you can always find someone to tutor, and if you know even one thing more than they do, you're still going to be valuable in being able to teach them or help them out. The thing is, when most people are looking for a tutor, the reason they're doing that is because they struggle to learn stuff on their own. They really just need someone to guide them through some content, to read what their teacher would have read them in class again and again and again, to help them solve a problem, to help them work on a project. If you have even the most basic skill in the area that this person needs to be tutored in, you can definitely be valuable. Now, I started tutoring when I was about 14 years old. I actually was not tutoring in computer science. I was tutoring in math and tutoring in just regular science in high school, but you can definitely tutor in computer science, and that's actually one of the more lucrative ways to make money. When I started tutoring at 14 years old, I was charging $20 an hour. This is Canadian dollars, but still, that was kind of the base rate. You're not often going to see tutors that are charging less than $20 per hour. You have a one-on-one session with someone, $20 an hour, at least from where I am, that's kind of a standard rate. In other countries, that may vary, but still, that's pretty good, especially if you compare it to a minimum wage job, which in Canada is about $15 an hour. Now, as you become a more skilled tutor, you can charge $50 an hour, $100 an hour. I've done tutoring sessions for $200 an hour before. Now, I don't do that anymore because I do feel bad charging people that much money, but it does have to be worth my time, right? So you get the idea here, but this is definitely scalable. And if you have a few clients, you do a few tutoring sessions per week, that can definitely add up. So now I know the question is, how do I find clients? How do I actually find people to tutor? Now, for me, the best way to do this is to reach out to people in your community and to actually have a kind of personal connection with the people that you're tutoring. Now, what I mean by that is to have someone maybe introduce you to a client or to market in your school, which I guess is more difficult now with COVID, but still, I'm going to talk to you about how I gained some clients. So when I was 14, 15 years old, I guess I would have been in grade 9 or grade 10, I was in a computer science class, and there was a computer science class that happened kind of the year before me, so in grade 9. So what I did is I reached out to my computer science teacher and I said, hey, I'm a tutor. I'm looking to tutor some people. Is there anyone you think could use a tutor in your class? And then they'll go and do the work for you and recommend you, assuming you're a good student, to whoever it is that actually needs a tutor. So from that, I picked up about 2 or 3 clients, and I was able to make about $60 a week when I was in grade 10 tutoring people. Now, I also tutored in other subjects like science, math, but computer science was kind of the main one that I did, and that was obviously the one that I was most skilled at. So it's not that difficult to get clients, and if you can't do it in that way, one great thing you can do is just post stuff at your school. Now, I understand a lot of people are not actually in school right now, so this is a bit of a flawed method, but back then I would just post a sheet of paper with the kind of tabs where you can pull off and get my phone number and say, hey, I'm tutoring in computer science. If you want an exam prep session, if you want me to help you with a project or with your homework, I'll tutor you that way. Other things you can do is list yourself on tutoring websites. There's tons of them out there. You can list yourself on Fiverr as a tutor. That's how I've gained a bunch of clients before. And if you know friends and family that have maybe younger children that you can help out, then you can ask if they need a tutor, right? Almost all of the clients that I've found have been from connections that I've had and have not required me being on the internet to actually find people. Now, last thing I'll say here is that I understand a lot of people don't want to tutor or they're too nervous to do this. All I'll say is that this is really a learning experience for you as the tutor as well. And if you're only charging someone $15, $20, $25 an hour, you don't have to be an amazing tutor. You don't have to have a PhD. All you have to do is provide a little bit of value, and you'll learn how to do that as you go through the different sessions. The first time I tutored someone, I was not very good at it. As I did it more and more times, I got better and better and slowly increased my rate as my skill increased. Anyways, this is method number 1. I think this is really practical and almost all of you can do this. Don't make excuses. Go out there, try to find some clients and make a little bit of money from tutoring. All right, so moving on to method number 2. Now, this one is a bit more challenging than the other methods I have on this list, but it can be a lot more lucrative and, in my opinion, a lot more rewarding and fun. Now, this is to build software or tools or websites for local businesses in your community. Now, I think this is great because you're actually helping out a local business, maybe a place that you've been to before, and this is something that's really attainable because you're not trying to target the Costco's or the Walmarts or these huge stores that won't even answer your email. You're actually targeting a client that you could drive to their store and kind of convince them verbally why they need your services or products. Now, of course, don't do this in a way where you're harassing anyone. I'm going to explain the process I would go through here and what I've done in the past. So the first thing I would do right now if I was about 15 years old and I had the skill to build a really basic single page website is I would look at all of the businesses in my local community and I would find if they have a website or not. Now, most of them are going to have a website, but you may find a few that don't have one. Now, if they don't have one, I would actually physically drive to their store. If I had a car, maybe I would get my parents to drive me, or I would walk there or bus or whatever the way is that I could get there. And I would ask them and say, hey, do you guys want a website? If you don't want one, these are all the reasons I think you should have one. I could do one for you for $50, $75, whatever the rate is you feel comfortable charging. And the reason why you're going to make your money back from this is because you only need 10 clients to walk through your door from this website to make all of that money back, right? This website is here forever. I'll deal with hosting it. I'll deal with putting all this stuff up. You can, of course, charge them for those extra costs, but it's really easy to prove to someone why a website would actually affect the bottom line of the business and how they would make money back from it. Now, of course, most businesses do have websites, so maybe that's not going to work out very well for you. Another thing you could do is offer to redesign a website if it's really poorly done, if it looks like it's from the 1990s, or what you could do is offer to build some type of automation tool for companies. Now, this is going to be easier if you're actually involved in the company already, or you have some insider information about them. But something I've done in the past is when I was working at a summer camp, I realized that the staff that were in the main office of the summer camp were automatically generating schedules for the next week. And they were going through and manually trying to find any conflicts and make sure there wasn't two groups of kids that were participating in the same activity at the same time. It was essentially a really basic algorithm problem to generate a schedule that they were doing by hand. It was taking them like 3-4 hours every week. So I noticed they were doing this and I said, hey, do you guys want me to build you a really basic software tool that does this? And they said, yeah, that would be awesome. That would be great. And that would save us tons of time. So I built that tool. I charged the company to build that, made some money while being able to help out the company. And, that affected their bottom line because if they can save 4, 8, 12 hours over the course of a summer doing the automated scheduling, then my $100 charge or whatever it was for that software is well worth it because they don't have to pay employees to be doing something that the computer can do. So this here is really all about providing value to someone and proving to them why whatever you charge them, they're going to make back from whatever the solution is that you implement. So you have to be creative. This does involve, a little bit of entrepreneurship and kind of getting out of your comfort zone. But this is something I would highly recommend to anyone, especially if you're kind of in the high school level, because you have the skill to build something that's really simple, but actually will help a business. And automation tools, time tracking tools, maybe something that tracks orders or gives kind of a database of what's going on. That's really, really helpful and really simple to build, and you can make a lot of money from. So hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully I gave you some decent ideas in this section. Again, I know this isn't the easiest thing in the world, but I think this is really practical, and this is something I've done in the past and found some success with. All right, so now we're moving on to method 3. Now this is my least favorite method on this list, but it does still make some money and can be fairly lucrative depending on kind of how you position yourself in this market. Now this is freelancing. Now, freelancing when it comes to coding is difficult if you don't have a very particular skill, but I'm going to talk about some strategies here that can make it so you can increase the revenue you'll get from offering freelancing skills. So if you're unfamiliar with freelancing, essentially this is you post an ad on some type of website, Fiverr, Upwork, whatever it may be, and someone ideally finds that ad and then pays you to complete some type of task. The most common thing is like making a website for someone, or making a Discord bot, or working on, an API, or whatever it is that people need done. They'll go on these websites and they'll try to find essentially the cheapest person they can that's capable of completing a task. Now, this is the issue with freelancing. There's tons of people that are offering services for the most generic things, right? For the things that everyone needs done. Now, there's a huge client base there. But there's also a huge amount of people that are offering services, and that means it's pretty much a race to the bottom in terms of how much you're going to have to charge for services. It may realistically take you 4 or 5 hours to create something, and you only can charge $25 or $30 because people, mostly from around the world, are offering way cheaper rates to do the exact same thing. So I do find it difficult to make a lot of money from freelancing, but you can absolutely make money. And the best way to increase the rate you would charge when you're offering freelancing services is to do something that is very, very niche and specific with a super small client base, but also a super small number of people offering services. Now, this kind of goes in every facet of business, but what I mean by this is picking some task that's super, super specific that like you couldn't even really imagine someone would be looking for. Something that I did when I was offering freelancing services about probably 3 or 4 years ago was I actually was pretty much completing people's homework and projects, which is against Fiverr terms of services. Don't tell them I told you that. Anyways, that's what I was doing, and I was doing this specifically for Pygame projects. So the ad I put on Fiverr was, I will make a Pygame game for you or something like that. And what would happen is I would get people with homework that was due in like 2 days or 3 days, or an assignment or a project or something like that. And they would reach out to me with a high degree of urgency to complete something. And because of that fact, I could charge them 2 or 3 times what I would normally charge because they needed it to be done in like 2 days, 3 days. Now, at this point in time, it was like me and 3 other people on the entire website that were offering this service. Now, I did actually make a video on how I did this. I'll put it up on the screen and link it in the description. So since then, there's been, tons of people that have just copied my exact same ad and now are offering all these Fiverr services for Pygame. But you need to pick something that's super specific, super niche, and that you can charge a fair amount of money for because there's only a few people offering that service. So hopefully that makes a bit of sense. If I'm thinking off the top of my head of things that you could offer services for, they would be like specific Python modules or a specific library in JavaScript or something that, just not a lot of people do and that you might not get a ton of clients for, but when you do get clients, they'll actually pay you a fair price, so it's worth your time. Again, you got to look into this. You have to do your own research. All of these things require effort. I can't just make you $500 a week, but these are 3 things that I have done in the past and have made me lots of money. Obviously, it's helped that I've had an online presence and I've had a YouTube channel. That's increased my reach and the number of people that I can get for these different services. But before I had any of that, I was still doing these things and still able to make about $500 a month. So lastly here, I will add that for all of these different areas, it is really helpful to have some type of social presence online, a LinkedIn, a Twitter, an Instagram, a YouTube, whatever it is that you want to make, maybe a basic blog or a resume website is helpful. And you may be surprised on how many clients you end up getting from these social channels, even if you only have, say, 500 followers or something really small. I was surprised when I was younger and I only had, say, 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, how many people actually reached out to me and asked for assistance because it was realistic for them to do that. And I actually had the time to spend and, tutor someone for an hour that reached out to me from my YouTube email. Now, before we end the video, I will mention that I do have a course. It's called Programming Expert. It's designed to bring you to a software engineering level of programming and teach you all of the fundamentals and advanced skills that you need to know to become a programming expert. We teach programming fundamentals, object-oriented programming, advanced programming, software design, software engineering tools. We have coding projects, over 250 coding practice questions, as well as assessment questions, and really everything you need to have kind of an all-in-one platform that not only teaches you everything, but also assesses and makes sure you understand the content. So if you guys want to check that out and support me, please do that from the link in the description. You can get a discount by using the code TIM. Again, programmingexpert.io/Tim. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in another one.